would you say is one of the things that you learn about me in our marriage?
Oh gosh. Okay, so you know this already about yourself, right? But I think for me, I had to, especially being so young in a marriage, coming into it so young, I had to get used to your directness. You're very honest with your thoughts. And I remember sometimes just asking you questions, about how something looks on me, or I'm reminded about the food that I first cooked for you as a wife, and your honesty even with the 2 beans and all of that.
Oh, Lord.
And not to keep bringing that up, because we're past that now, right? But those are things that I think I had to, throughout the course of years, realize that just was a part of your personality, right? That you just were a very honest person. If I knew that if I came to you and I asked you a question, I was going to get the truth, right? I was going to get the raw truth, not just the truth, but the raw truth. And I think that's something that I had to really learn how to deal with, especially being a young wife. I had to learn that wasn't, you weren't coming from a negative place. I think sometimes I took it that way. But you weren't coming from a negative place. You weren't coming from a hateful place. You had no ill intent at all.
Absolutely not.
You were just, all you knew to be was just honest. You asked me for my opinion, so I'm going to give you the truth. And I think sometimes you would even say, well, you didn't want the truth, why'd you ask? So I think that's what I had to kind of learn throughout the years, that's just who you are.
Yeah. And first of all, it's tough for men, right? It's tough for men when we speak to the woman in our life, if it's your wife, your girlfriend, whoever that special person is in your life. As men, we have to learn to navigate the emotional roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Not to say women is all over the place with their emotions. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, women apply emotions to everything that they do, how they think, how they move through the world. It's all from an emotional place. And most men, we are far from that, come from a logical place. So, just depending on how mature what that man is in his life. But we have to learn how to respond to a question like, well, how do you think I look? Mm-hmm. Well, now when you ask me how do you think I look, I may think on how do I answer this question to get my point across, but also make it acceptable to my wife so that she don't flip out on my answer, right? Because I do remember one time you asked me, this has been a while ago, you asked me, you're like, so how do you think I look in this? And I was like, I don't like it. And it was immediately went from you asking my opinion to, what do you mean? And in my mind, I'm like, and I would say to you, but didn't you ask me my opinion?
Right.
So it's things like that men have to learn how to navigate. It's almost like a setup, right? You asking me this question, but it's like, oh, this is a setup. It's a setup. Watch how you respond. Mm-hmm. And so for me and my honesty, the way I approach things is just, me as a person, what I brought into my marriage and how I was responding to my wife was, you ask a question, I give you my honesty, my truth about it. And it wasn't from a malice place. It wasn't trying to hurt you. It wasn't, it was just the honesty, my honesty in that situation. Mm-hmm. And so that approach was, hey, if we talk about it, if I put it out there, I give you my truth, I give you my opinion, I'm being honest, then we deal with it, and then we move on. That's not an issue anymore. But it's just not that simple. It was never that simple with my wife, with my sisters. That's just not how it works. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn, like most men, is how do you navigate your opinion, your thoughts, your honesty with your wife. So I had to learn.
Do you feel like you mastered that, or I mean, where are you with that?
Yeah. So a woman is a woman is a woman, right? So your emotions haven't gone anywhere. You still see the world from an emotional state. So I just had to learn how to manage my wife's emotion when it comes to my opinion. So I may say it a little differently. I may sometimes hold my peace, but that's a part of it, right? I had to learn my wife. I had to understand my wife. No different. My wife had to learn me and understand me. So it is what it is, and so yeah. I still got to manage those emotions and how I respond to it.
Yeah, but you feel like you've grown, like we've grown together in this, and hopefully it's not as severe as what it was.
No, it's
coming
not.
Into the marriage.
And, we both came in young and with our own thoughts of how things should work. And but yeah, I've matured, I've grown, no different than you've matured and you've grown, and it's all for the better, right? So you learn me, I learn you, and we make it work.
Well,
and that's what a marriage is about.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So I'm gonna flip it around to you then, since you asked me the question first. We were talking about that. But what is it that you had to learn about me outside of how to respond when I ask you a question?
For me, if I had the opportunity to go back and speak to my younger self, I would tell my younger self, learn and love your wife for who she is, right? Because we all come into the marriage with a perception of what a wife is, what a husband is. And, for us, you had your perception of what a husband means to you and looks like to you. Well, I have a perception of what a wife looks like and means to me. And so I, at a certain point, realized, or you helped me to realize, is that I was expecting you to be this perceived wife that I came into the marriage with. And so I would tell myself, learn your wife and love your wife for who she is, not who you perceive a wife to be. And that's being fair to you, and that's being honest to myself, and it would have made, I think, our marriage allowed us to grow a lot sooner than having for me to get to a point where I would understand that I was expecting my wife to be this picture that I had in my head. And one way that you helped me with that is, early on in our marriage, we said, well, if it was me, I would have did it like this, which means it would have been acceptable. Your actions would have been acceptable to me, because if you would have done it like I done it, like if it was me in that situation, this is what I would have done. And you just always say, well, that's how you would handle it. And you would say it all the time, right? Until one day, I don't know why this particular day, the light went off. The light went off, and I was like, I get it, right? I am who I am, you are who you are, and I was judging you on who I am. I was expecting you to react according to who I am and how I would handle the situation. But when the light came on, and I remember I would have conversations with, sister or men sitting around the table talking, and I would always give you credit, like my wife helped me to understand and helped me to see that I was judging her on how I would handle the situation. So which wasn't fair to you, but we often do those type of things. Right. So, that's something that I would go back and tell my younger self is, hey, learn her for who she is and love her for who she is, not who you thought she would be or expect her to be.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. I appreciate you so much. I just want you to know that we've grown a lot.
Absolutely.
In these last 30 years. And just even being able to have these little fireside chats just do wonders. Just having the ability to be able to kind of talk through some things. So appreciate you, honey.
Absolutely.